We are live.
Yay, hello. Welcome to our BB Can Breakdown 902 podcast. We are live. I'm Melissa, and with me is my BFF Lindsay, and we're about to break down the week of the most exciting week, I think, of Big Brother Canada
Agreed.
so far. We posted an update on our pool. Who is in the lead? Lindsay, obviously, is dominating. Amazingly, actually. I'm starting to,
No, it's amazing.
so I'm especially liking this week for that reason. But yeah, so we'll get right into it. Lindsay's going to post our links so that people can watch live. And if you're watching later after this has already been broadcast, we thank you for your support and tuning into us week after week. So getting on with it, this week was the double eviction, and it was amazing TV. It was amazing TV, and it was stellar feeds. I was watching feeds as much as I possibly could with working 4 12-hour shifts this week, but I watched it basically any opportunity I could this week. But Joel nominated Raul and Kelsey, and then Dallas ended up winning the veto, and he again left a veto unused, and so the noms stayed the same. In my opinion, Kelsey didn't campaign at all, even though in the diary room she said she really wanted to stay. Feed said otherwise. She basically like checked out day 2 or day 3 after she was nominated. And Raul took Tim's advice when he talked to him on feeds in his tub area and in the HOH room,
Yeah.
and basically like laid low all week and didn't do anything. Like he did campaign, but he really did lay low and just left it in the hands of fate, and i.e. Mitch. Like Mitch did all of his campaigning and openly said, I will campaign for you. And then we end up fast forwarding to Kelsey going home. And right before she went home, they announced that it would be a double eviction tonight. So, thoughts on this? Thoughts on everything that went on this week? It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think that Kelsey really didn't put up a fight. She just kind of like thought like I think because she's so pretty, and this is terrible to say, but because she's so pretty, she hasn't really had to work for a lot of things. Things just happen for her. So when it came time to like actually hustle and play the game, she didn't really do it. And I think she took things very, very personally. And I mean, I don't think you can play the game that way. And I don't think her head was in it the right way. Um, and so it was really good. The feeds are probably the best I think we've ever been. I love season 2 feeds, but this is taking it to a whole other caliber. Like I am enjoying it so much. I find myself getting home just like putting it on the background when I'm like cooking dinner and getting like cleaning. I did laundry last night and I had it on in the background because they're always playing, they're always strategizing. There's so many people still in the house, and I think that it's probably the best season I've watched in a really long time. Because I think like
Yeah, no,
with John and Netta, I was gonna say like
I agree.
John and Netta like didn't really like get together and start really like John kind of played a really quiet game. Netta hustled early days, but I don't think John really got into it until like probably a month and a half into it, and I don't feel like I feel like right now everyone's playing and it's really good.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I feel like I was totally disappointed in Kelsey not campaigning as much as she could have campaigned this week. The extent of her campaigning was flirting with the brothers,
Yeah.
and I was I I really had high hopes for her. She was my first round draft pick.
Mhm.
And anyways, it is where the chips lie. The double eviction does give her an opportunity to come back into the house. However, as we saw as she left the house, she did still have sass leaving the house and stealing Maddie's duck. I was in like tears laughing, like just loved it, loved the sass. However, I just would have loved to see more of that in a campaign. Like, yes, she may have been going home because it was the best decision for everyone in the house to break off that showmance. And also for Jarrett, he realized it when she was flirting so much with the brothers that like his head wasn't in the game. He was concentrating on like how Kelsey was affecting his game, not on how he should be playing. So in that moment, he kind of realized it as well. But I just think that she had so much more potential, and I really hope she puts up a fight if it's a endurance comp to get back in the house, because that I like normally when people re-enter the house, it's normally an endurance comp, and I think that what they'll end up doing, my prediction is that they'll end up putting Kelsey and Levita up in the HOH, similar to Judd's season where he could compete in the HOH as well. And the last person standing in that endurance comp will get into the house and potentially win HOH if they're the last person standing of all the house guests. That's my prediction of how
I feel like we didn't really even talk. We talked about Kelsey getting evicted, but Levita and the twist and Maddie and the HOH and them going in like back room together on the lot, like within like feet of their like their people that they're campaigning against. It is so good. Like Levita, you know what? Like when she was like to Raul, like, do you think they're gonna backdoor me? Yes, I do. I think that they're gonna backdoor you, and I think you're being naive. And I think that she's a very gullible person, and I think she's really like she likes everyone to like her. And the second she got in there, Kelsey was like, yeah, I don't want to talk to you at all. And she was like, Kelsey. Like, she seems so really like, oh, talk to me. And like, of course they're talking now. Of course they're playing differently and they're talking and they're being friendly. Especially if you're watching the live feeds. If you are not watching the live feeds, I don't think you're doing Big Brother right. That's what I think. I think the live feeds add so much to it, and all Levita and Kelsey do is talk game because they have nothing else to talk about. Last night I watched them throw an apple for like 20 minutes and talk game. Like, it is so good. It's so good.
Yeah. So. No, that's the thing. Like, just off topic completely about feeds. Just even with season 2, when I rewatched season 2, because I was such a fan of season 2, and last year I found like I liked Big Brother Canada 3 because I'm a Big Brother fan, but I didn't love it the way I've loved previous Big Brother seasons. And so I was kind of bored last year, and I was like, oh, I wish it was like Big Brother season 2. I had such high hopes for it after season 2 for season 3. And when it kind of fell short for me, I ended up rewatching Big Brother Canada season 2. I texted you about it, and watching it without watching the feeds was like an injustice to season 2. Like it just felt wrong. Like I felt like I was missing all of the like cream in the middle of the Oreo. Like it's just like putting 2 chocolate cookies together and having no cream of that cream. That's what the feeds are to me. And I was getting into this girl at work.
They're free.
I know they're free. She watches Big Brother. She loves Big Brother. And I'm like, are you watching feeds? And she's like, no, I've never watched feeds. I'm like, you have to. I'm like, please, like Sunday night, tune in for an hour. If they're not for you, they're not for you. But get back to me our next set of 4 and let me know how much you love the feeds and how much you're addicted. Because like people that don't watch feeds just don't see the reality of the house. They don't. No. They don't see like everything that's into it. And I don't know. It's my passion. Like the feeds are my passion. And when we couldn't get access to the American feeds last year, I was so devastated because that was like the first year that
I don't know why they did that. I still am so upset about that. Like, if they do that again this year, I'm going to be really disappointed. I assume that they will, but like, what's the problem in like, you know, Canadians watching? Like, I kind of think like we paid our $40, we watched it, like who cares? But I'm not really sure the reasoning. It wasn't the same, and yeah, disappointing. I hope that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, me too. So tweet at us at the end of our episode today. We're going to be taking questions, comments, anything you guys want to talk to us about, just tweet at us at BB Breakdown 902, and we will answer questions at the end. We already have one question that we're gonna talk about at the end from @ReadingCave. But if anyone else wants to tweet at us, just do it now while we're live, and at the end we'll take your questions or comments or whatever you want to tell us. So let's get into the double eviction because we kind of fast forwarded to Levita getting evicted HOH. And the final two in this HOH where house guests had to ask, like, be asked, is it an HOH, is it a have not, or is it a veto competition? It was between Mitch and Maddie, and this was the first HOH that I think we actually saw Mitch wanting to win, and he didn't. Maddie won it, and if you noticed, the first thing I noticed when he walked off his booth, he didn't even congratulate her. He didn't even look at her. He just walked off the booth. It wasn't even taken in by any of the house guests. I don't think. I took it in and I tweeted it. And then Maddie has to go right away and put her noms up, and she ended up nominating Jared and Raul, which wasn't a surprise to anybody because they're on the other side of the house, because Dallas has drawn a line in the sand hard. And she's aligned with Dallas. And then right after that, she goes up to Jared and Raul, please win the veto. One of us three has to win. I want to backdoor Levita. And as we had mentioned, Levita's sitting on the couch saying, I think she wants to backdoor me. I think she wants to backdoor me to Ramsey. And Ramsey's like, no, that's not going to happen. Like, you're with us, like trying to talk Levita down. And then, so it was a roller derby, and then ironically Nick wins. And my first thought there was, wow, is Maddie regretting the fact that she broke up with Nick this episode? Which was totally junior high, in my opinion, how she broke up with them, breaking up through a brother. But anyway, she might as well have passed a note to him and broke up with him that way, as far as I was concerned. But anyway, so Nick wins, and he solidifies an alliance or trust factor with Jared by taking him off the block. And then Maddie quickly renominates Levita without a second thought, even though we see in the next episode that Dallas tries to talk her out of it. She nominates Levita, and then Levita ends up going home. Well, ends up going to the Big Brother suite, which was epic. Levita was like so devastated, and then the happiest I've seen her all game, I think, when she realized there's a potential for her to go back in the game. Thoughts on all this recap that I just recapped for everyone?
I think that Maddie blindsided Dallas, and I think right there she drew a line that said, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm selfish. And she didn't, like, she literally only played for her. And like, although Levita was like a strong player and all that kind of stuff, like, I don't think she was really a threat. And you had a chance to get out Jared or Raul and send them packing, it would have been amazing. And I think she just did what she wanted to do and thought like, oh, no one will get hurt and blah, blah, blah. And we'll all just get out with the person we really want. But as Tim says later on, like, she actually, like, right then and there showcased where her lines are and that she's selfish and she doesn't play well with others. And I think that right there, oh, go ahead.
I think if it had been dwindling, if the numbers had dwindled and there had been like 6 or 7 people left in the house, then maybe that would be to do, like, be like, yeah, I have to play this game for myself. And I think Dallas actually would have been more understanding of that. But the fact that it was side against side and Levita was on their side and Maddie was like, I don't give a fuck. I want to be the last girl standing. That's basically what she wants. She hates girls. We know this because she said it in her opening video that she hates girls. And she goes around the house bashing every girl as much as she possibly can. And I have no respect for that type of personality. I think it's ridiculous how she's acting. She's clearly insecure and making up for it by trying to like swear so much, like, to show she has like this big personality that's confident. Well, swearing to me does not equal confident. And I think that honestly, like, she at this point in her life, and maybe she will mature, but she has the maturity level of a high school student, or a junior high even. Anyway, she's young, and life experience probably will culture her a little more to the way she acted in the house. Like when she gets out and sees the aftermath of how she acted, and just comments she makes, like, in general, like I said last time, and I say it every episode, and I'm sorry to everyone that listens to me ramble about this, I can't watch Maddie's feed for more than like 2 minutes. I was forced to watch it by Big Brother yesterday a whole lot, because every time I was on a camera with somebody I actually wanted to watch, they'd switch it back to the Maddie feed to whatever's going
Right.
on with Maddie, because she was like confronting Cassandra last night on feeds. I won't skip ahead that far because it's a spoiler, but she was like basically confronting anyone she could last night on feeds. So I mean, it was good feeds if you enjoy the confrontation aspect of watching feeds. For me, it was just like, oh my goodness, like really, like I can't stand to watch it. I would follow Tim and Nikki around all day on feeds if I could, if Big Brother would let me. But anyway, so moving on. So Dallas and Maddie have their big blowout. What do you think about that? Did you think Dallas was in the right, or did
I thought Dallas was in the right.
I'm
not the biggest fan of Dallas. I think he's kind of crude and disgusting, but like as a person and physically, like I think he just is like really not for me. But I think that he was in the right and they had an alliance and she just went and did her own thing and she just kept getting back into a corner. She was like a little rat that like got caught. Like, and they called her out on it. She deserved it and she didn't have a good reason. It was selfish and she couldn't say, I'm being selfish, you know? So I didn't enjoy it. I thought, you know, I'm kind of like you. I'm like, oh, Maddie's so stupid. She sleeps all the time. She's rubbing people's back. She's not for me.
No, me neither. So let's move on then. Let's go to Tim's HOH win. So they had a 1916 Big Brother treasure chest that they had to go through, and then they had to watch a video on basically clips from their season, and each Big Brother house guest was like transformed back in time to a 1916 character, and it basically was a game of memorization. Tim's that ends up winning it with his chalkboard numerical like math skills basically.
He was one off
question
from Cass. He was one off from Cass. One.
What?
He was one. He was 151 and she was 150. So it wasn't that mathematical. He's not that great.
Well, it was because none of the other house guests were that close.
She was 150.
Anyhow,
151. That's 1 point.
I don't even know how she came up with that, but anyways, it was all Tim. They probably discussed it. Obviously, they're aligned.
Oh my God.
How many balls do you think were used? They're probably going over game, like they always say that. I don't think they are though because I watched the feeds. But anyways, this week for Cassandra, I was a Cassandra fan until feeds this week, and where she's going against her alliance. This is another speed boiler. No, I'm putting my words together wrong. Feed spoiler. But melange, that's a long day of mommy brain. Anyways, yeah, no, I don't know how she got so close personally, but she did. Well, I mean, they weren't that close to the actual number. The actual number, I think, was 183, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, I know I'm going over nonsense. So anyways, he ends up going Aussie style with his HOH, and I loved it because I watched his season and the 2 seasons after. So he makes all the house guests come in and nominate 2 people for eviction and tell him why they're nominating. And if they don't tell him why and they don't assign points, up to 5 points, they had to split. Then if they didn't agree to do this, then 5 points would automatically, or 5 koala bears, so instead of gummy bears, koala bears, would end up going to their name. So they would have 5 against them for eviction in a tally system. So Dallas was really against this because he thought it was a popularity contest. But really, if you would have thought logically and like talk to your alliance a little bit before you had to go in the room, you might have been able to get like somebody like Jared up, or somebody that you actually wanted up if you had conferred with your people that you're aligned with. But he didn't want to do that at all. He was just super upset about it and hot-headed about it like usual. And so he got 5 koala bears against his name. And then he and Ramsey ended up getting nominated. And we saw the aftermath of that is we saw Ramsey basically like lose it emotionally. And I didn't know he was that emotional of a player up until this point. Like he was bawling on the couch to like everyone about the fact he was
nominated on the feed. Talk about HOH?
Which was kind of like, yeah, let's talk about HOH.
Sorry, well, I kind of thought that like The one hand, I really liked it. I thought it was funny, and it really was really smart play, and it was enjoyable to watch. It was funny, and I think Tim's whole thing is like, I want to be funny. I want people to enjoy themselves by watching us, which is why I'm enjoying it so much this season. Um, but I watched it with my family, and my sister-in-law was like, I don't like this because then everybody's like, she said, what did she say? She was like, it's kind of like, like he didn't make a decision, he's making the house make it, which is how they do it in Australia. So I guess that's how it's done. I didn't mind it. I thought it was really interesting. But I was so shocked that everyone just went up there and like laid their cards all out in the line. He has so much information. I was shocked. I was absolutely like floored that's how he did it.
Well, honest to God, like, yes, it was the smartest HOH that I've seen, I think, ever, really, in Big Brother history that I can remember, because everybody gave up their information, who they
Mm-hmm.
didn't like in the game and why they didn't like them. So now he's armed with all this info. On top of that, he has really no blood on his hands because the house made the decision. And he can, like, this is basically like going to be the nail in the coffin for him to win if he makes it to the final two, because I mean, it was a ballsy move, first of all, to concoct this, even though it's not really concocted on his part, because Big Brother Australia plays this way, and Australia votes who they want to stay and who they want to leave. But I mean, really, in my opinion, he just solidified his win if he makes it to final two. If the house guests somehow let him make it to final two or three, he's won the game. He has.
I will be
It's my
shocked.
opinion. What do you think?
I will be shocked if he makes it much farther, because he's like, people are onto him, and most importantly, in my opinion, Mitch is onto him. Mitch and Joel are onto him. They're smart. They know what's up. Lavita and Kelsey are watching like Madhawks. They know Mitch is involved, and they know that like he's smart. I think Tim's days are numbered, to be perfectly honest. I think he's too good, and everyone knows it. That's what I think. I don't
But
think it's it.
every Lindsay, everyone respects it. Okay, so we're going into the spoiler category because we're going to start talking about feeds. So yes, everyone has openly admitted.
I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Well, let's don't you think? Like, I want to prove my point here right now. Like, Tim is going to make it at least, I think, till final six. I think at least, because A, he's a strong competitor. B, he can talk his way out of any situation. And C, people enjoy being around him. Even though the brothers know that he's not to be fucked with, and Mitch knows that, and who else knows that? Joel knows that, and Jared even is cluing into it, according to feeds, that he's a dangerous player. But they're all going to him with all their information. He sits in his tub in the HOH. He has a bath, and every single person comes in. And mind you, they all do it with Mitch too, but they all go in and they tell him their whole Big Brother life story, basically, and ask him for advice. All of them. Even Mitch this week, after the fact, after the renom, because Ramsey won veto, and after he makes his renom, which was Maddie, sorry guys, and Mitch even went to him and said, like, so what do you think's going on? Cassandra's trying to keep Dallas in the house. What do you think of that? Like, even Mitch had this conversation with Tim. So as much as they're all on to him, they still all respect him. And ultimately, I think people keep people in the house that they legitimately have fun with and want to be around. And the house would be pretty boring without Tim and Nikki there, and everyone knows it. Mind you, I didn't realize how total off topic, how close Nikki and Mitch were. Nikki and Mitch are super close. Last night when she had a bit of wine in her, she was like, I tweeted about it, but she went up to him and like told him how much she loved him and how much of a bond that they had straight away. And they had like this intense moment in the living room. And Joel just kind of sat there like a deer in headlights and didn't know what to do with himself. But they had like this intense moment because Mitch was having a bad day on feeds yesterday because it was his birthday and he was missing his boyfriend. And anyways, I don't know. I just think without them in the house, there would be a void. And a lot of the house guests realize that. And a lot of the house guests want their advice on how to proceed in the game. That's what I think. And a lot of them, like Jarrett and the brother more specifically, have said multiple times, Tim told me I was going to make final three. Oh my God, Tim told me I was like, they freak out that they're, Tim is telling them that they're going to make final three. I think you're underestimating him. You'll see. Anybody on Twitter that doubts him, I say, watch Big Brother Australia his season. Anyways, what are your thoughts? I've just talked your ear off about how great Tim is.
I mean, this is like every other Big Brother chat we have, but which is not a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, I think that Tim, hold on, I have a piece of gum in my mouth. I think that Tim is like, he's good and I don't doubt that, but I just think that no one right now is on to Mitch, and I think Mitch is smart enough that if he gets HOH, he'll put him up. And I think Mitch is really close for an HOH. So I agree with you. He's fun. He's funny, but like, there are some people in there that are all about that game, and Jared and the brothers and Cass and Nikki and all of those people are like, oh, Tim, he's so much fun. But I think like give it to Joel or like Mitch, then it's done and they'll get him. That's what I think. They know people like that win the damn thing. Like, that's what happens. So I don't know. I love him. I'm half watching because I enjoy him so much. Like, I was watching the feeds and they were all talking and like shooting the shit. And he was like, oh, I forgot that I left my tub on. And he like starts running and Cassandra's like, I already got it. I knew you were, So I really think that what surprises me about Tim is how much he brings out Cassandra, because much like last season in the US Big Brother, like Victoria, I think that was her name. That may be a couple seasons ago. But there was one girl and she was just like, she got to the final three and no, like, I kind of think basically I have 2 points. Cassandra is playing harder than I thought she was going to. I am enjoying her more than I thought I would. I thought she was just going to be a floater and she was ditzy. She's actually playing. She's asking good questions. I enjoy her. And then on the top of that, like, I don't think that there's one player that's not actually playing this game. Like, everyone is playing the game. There's no floater. There's no, like, person where I'm like, oh, if they would only just get in the game. Like, everyone is playing. And actually, like, I guess the one person I think that isn't playing that much is Nikki. Like, I haven't really, she's a social player, but I haven't seen her play. Like, she seems to get overwhelmed by comps and have-nots and all that. But everyone is hustling in that house right now, and it's so enjoyable. Those are my thoughts.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to take it to feeds again, but yes, I'm sorry. We're going back to
I feel
that's
like,
where it's at.
I feel like I just talk and you're like, okay, next.
Sorry,
You're like, you don't engage with me.
I love you. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
There's just so much to talk about in 40 minutes. I can't contain myself. I actually have like 2 pages left here to talk about. So I'm just like, oh my goodness, there's so much to say and so little time to say it all to you guys. But going back to feeds again. So Ramsey won the POV and Maddie was renominated. And now Maddie, she was working Ramsey hard to try and not use the veto because she knew she was going to be the renom. And now all of a sudden they're in this showmance. I can't believe my eyes on feeds. She is now playing Ramsey and Ramsey is taking it like the unbeknownst victim. I guess he didn't see what happened to Nick, but anyways, they're totally showmancing it up in their little bed there now. She's moved into his bed and out of Nick's bed. And I don't think there's an actual boyfriend back home. I think that was an excuse to get out of the showmance with Nick personally, but anyhow, so there's that. And then on top of that, there's Cassandra scheming behind Tim's back to get Dallas to stay in the house. And then Tim, even though he put up Maddie, found out about it today. And he was telling them today before tuning in here a few hours ago, like getting ready for the show or whatever, he was telling Jarrett and Phil, all 4 of them, were talking about how if Cassandra ends up voting Dallas to stay and it ends up being a tie where Tim has to decide who's staying, Dallas or Maddie, he's going to tell the whole house and that Dallas is evicted, and he's openly going to say that he's coming for Cassandra next week because she went against him and went against their alliance. So I really hope that Cassandra is the wiser and stops this campaigning for Dallas, because I don't even know why she's doing it. They've never been aligned. I think it's mostly because of the rivalry that lies between Maddie and Cassandra. But my goodness, it's good feeds right now. That's all I'm saying. And I was reading before coming on, because I didn't have a chance to tune in, that Emmett and Levita and Kelsey were in the house planning chips or something. I'm not sure what's going on there. I'll have to catch up after our podcast. But yeah, so that's pretty exciting too. So anyhow, what do you think?
I think that like Maddie and
Tim.
No, I think that Maddie, I kind of want her out just because I think she's boring and I think she doesn't play smart. Last night, her and Cassandra were talking on live feeds. They had a little bit to drink, and Cassandra was like, I don't really know you. I don't really talk to you. You haven't played a game with me. I find it super condescending when people say your name over and over and over in a conversation. So like, Melissa, just listen. Melissa, just listen. Like when people do that, it drives me. It's just like I'm in charge. Like I don't like it. And so I found like Maddie was saying to Cassandra a lot, like, oh, so no, but listen, Cassandra, listen. And I was like, don't do that. That's so obnoxious. I think that her days are numbered. I want her out. I'd rather her out than Dallas, because Dallas has a target on his back and they're eventually going to get him out. So I think that Maddie is a smarter move. And yeah, whoever goes back in, Kelsey or Levita, is going to gun for her anyway. So
I agree. And just listening to Kelsey and Levita talk, like they both recognize the fact that Mitch is playing this amazing mastermind game, and that everyone is coming to now. They're watching everything, but they're still gunning for Cassandra. They're still gunning for Maddie. They're still gunning for those types of players. Like they're not willing. I don't know if they're willing to take that stab at like a Mitch or a Tim yet, which is kind of disappointing, because now it's eye opening to what's going on in the house. And I'm thinking between the two of them, the most exciting one to see come back into the house would be Levita, because she, I think, would be more open to making like a more ballsy move than Kelsey would. I think Kelsey would just kind of lie right back into her alliance with Jared and Raul, and Jared and Raul would talk her into whatever noms is best for their Lions. That would be my thoughts on them or Kelsey re-entering that.
I think that what was I going to say? I had a really good point and I kind of lost it. Oh, I was watching them last night, and while they were talking, like in their secret room or whatever it is, they were saying that that like once they get back in the house, whether it be like Levita or Kelsey, they're going to play. They're like in the game, you know? And it's kind of unfortunate on the one hand that they both got like one of them is only going back, not the other. But I guess my point being that you go into a house and you're like, I'm going to play so hard. And then you make friendships and alliances and romances and all these other different things come into your world. And you can't really like pull yourself out enough to see the big picture. And I think both of them being outside the house, seeing the big picture, being on opposite sides of the house and having a chance to just hash it all out, figure it out, be stuck there like rats in like a box that they can't get out of. It's so interesting. It's like a whole different level of Big Brother. I'm surprised that they have let us see so much into that room that the two of them are in. Two, when I was watching feeds last night, I was surprised that they showed like a glimmer of them watching and the show, and then they didn't show anything else. So like nobody was like, you never see Kelsey. If you didn't watch live feeds, you would probably forget that the two of them were even in a room together. That's what I guess I'm trying to say. Like they showed all of 2 minutes of them watching. So are you here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, sometimes like on last night I watched live feeds till like 12:30. I couldn't put them down. I was exhausted, but I could not put the live feeds down. So at times they will flip from like feed camera number 2 to the suite room to show you a little bit what's going on in there. But they're not really talking strategy or not gaming at all. I don't think that they filter those main feeds into the suite as much.
Mhm.
But just update everyone right now. I don't know if we can all see that, but Emmett is partying with winners in the house. So the winners of the chip contest or whatever went on there on feeds an hour or two ago. Emmett's in the house and he's talking with them. So that's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Um,
Is that
yeah,
what you
I'm
were
getting
looking at
that.
while I was talking?
Yeah. I was looking at Emmett. But that's courtesy of Michelle from the Bronx. Thank you for your picture. But however, Ramsey didn't know his name. So that's just showing how Big Brother, like how novice these players in the house are, and how much people like Tim and Mitch are going to just them like a piranha, whichever one comes out standing between the two of them anyway. It'll all depend who wins the next HOH, really. Because
Yep.
Tim, he knows Mitch is smart, but he's on to the fact that Mitch does not think like highly of keeping him in the game. Tim's not on to that yet, from what I could tell this week. And anyhow, maybe the HOH is getting to his head a little bit, the power of being HOH, because in Australia, they don't have that, right? Like they don't have all that power in 1 week, but I don't know. He's not onto it yet. As much as Mitch is onto him, Tim is not. So if Mitch does end up winning HOH and nominates him, I think Tim is going to be a little like shocked.
Yeah.
In the aftermath of it. Okay, so let's get on to our question. So this week we only had one question so far. We did have a mention of do we have chat? Like, can we have chat for the people that are watching live right now? We'll try and figure that out for next week. Our techie Linz will try and figure that out because I'm not too savvy.
I like how you offered my time and energy. I was like, we're not there yet.
I will Google it and then I'll send the information to Lindsay because she is the tech savvy person between the two of us. So I'll Google how to get chat in Google Hangouts. Or if somebody's aware of how to do it, just tweet us and in short form, explain how we do that. And we will for sure do it if it's not complicated and we can set it up because we usually get on about 10 minutes before our show starts just to like organize our Big Brother thoughts. So we'll try, if it's not that hard, to set it up for next week, and then we can have some live chat with you viewers that are tuning into us live every week, and we really thank you for that. But this week, our one question that we got was from at the Reading Cave, and he asked us, which 3 players do we think from this season will end up and make All-Stars? So, Linz, do you want to go first?
Well, I'm not going to choose either of the international people because they're not really Canadian, so they can't play in an all-star competition, and really they're already playing. What
if one of them wins?
They're still international. Like, they're not Canadian.
That's true.
So if it's a Canadian all-star, like, they shouldn't be in it. They're already doing an all-star one. It's just in Canada for them. My pick right now, I guess, is Mitch. Obviously, I'm a huge Mitch fan. But I don't think we've really scratched the surface enough to know anybody else. I think Mitch is just the biggest. Like, if at this point in season 2 I'd been asked this question, I wouldn't have said John. And I think now John for sure, so I think that Mitch, I think if Levita gets back in, Levita could actually do really well. Dallas, heck no. Phil and Nick have surprised me because I think they are playing a smart game. And Phil never, ever, ever reveals any of his sources. Like, he just kind of keeps to himself. You don't know where his head is in the game unless you watch the diary room. I appreciate that. His brother just does what he tells him to do. So I'm intrigued by the 2 of them.
His brother, though, has never watched Big Brother. So Phil is the super fan, and his brother just knows of Big Brother from Phil. So I think that his brother has this huge learning curve. And when they split up, which I think is going to happen, I think that it'll be interesting to see how Nick plays individually. Because I'm not sure if I'm not sure if Phil will continue to mentor him as much as he's really doing right now if they're independent and now they're solo.
I
It'll be
don't
really
know.
interesting when they
I guess I agree with you. I think he won't be as like mentoring because like he wants to win the money, but he's also 21 years old and this is his kid brother. And I think like without even thinking about it, you're always gonna like instinctively help. And I think he'll always kind of be there to lend a helping hand. Like that bond is unbreakable and I think like they'll always help each other out. So but Phil is the smarter of the two. Nick's the more naive one. And the fact that they're only a year apart is very surprising to me.
I agree. So who's your 3 picks? So you said Mitch.
Lavita, I guess and Phil and Nick.
Okay, I'm gonna write this down just for future podcasts. So Mitch, Lavita, and Phil Mitch? Or
Phil and
Phil.
Nick.
Why did I say Phil Mitch?
Just say Phil, because really only Phil is who I think.
Phil? Okay.
Yeah.
So my 3 picks are Mitch, obviously. Loved him preseason, had high hopes for him. Glad he's on my team. Joel, and I picked Paige. I really would like Paige to get a second chance at playing the game. She's a super fan. I think she like as much as she didn't game as hard to stay in the house. I think everyone deserves a second chance, and I would like to see her get that in All Stars. I know it's kind of a wild pick, but Mitch, Joel, and Paige is who I'd like to see just to see her get her second chance. Okay, so taking it one step further, I thought we would go on the trend of who we think will make All Stars. So from each season 1, 2, and 3, pick 3 players from each season
I can't pick 3 players.
All-Stars. Do it.
I don't even know. All I know is John and Netta and Sarah and Kenny, and that's all I really. And the mom with the bum and all that. That's all I can remember. I don't even know who was on first season. Emmett, Jillian, all that. I mean, I don't know. I think the obvious one. So sorry. Here I am. I think like Peter, like obviously all that crew that seemed to run together. Alex, like what's the whoa, what's her name? The mom, Eva. What's her name? Ika.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know. Like I think that there were some good people. I don't know. They all seem to run together though. Like they'd all be like friends in the house. Like that's weird. You can't have that. Like
okay, so pick one from each season that you'd like to see play. Season 1, who would you pick?
Emmett.
Okay. Season 2.
Kenny.
And season 3.
I don't even know anyone from season 3. I guess Sarah. No. Brittany.
Britt? Okay. So season 1 for me, I'd like to see Peter get a second chance because I love Peter. Season 2, I'd like to see, of course, Netta get a second chance in All Stars. And season 3, I'd like to see Kevin get a second chance in All Stars. Those would be my picks. So I've written them down. So if All Stars is for some reason next season, then we'll see if our picks from each season made it or not. And if they did, then they will be on our teams automatically. How about?
Sound good.
Since we made different picks. Okay, so that kind of concludes our 902 podcast. What?
Who's going home this week? Maddie?
Oh, we definitely have fiction. Dallas.
I think Maddie.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think she's the scarier of the two.
Okay, I'm writing that down. And who do you think will win HOH next week?
Ooh. If Lavita comes back in, Lavita. And if not, I could see, I think I'm going to go crazy and say Ramsey might win it this time.
Okay. I think so your pick to come back in would be Levita.
Yeah, I think so. I think she wants it
Okay, so
more.
my pick to come, I think so too. I think Levita will end up coming back in, and I'm really hoping to see a Mitch HOH next week. So I'm gonna pick Mitch. So we'll see if our predictions tell to be the truth. We thank everyone that tuned in tonight to join us to talk about Big Brother Canada. We love the support live, and we also love the support after the fact. Please tweet at us. Any comments, questions for next week? Because we'll do the questions at the end again next week. However many questions we get, we'll answer them all. And we will for sure give kudos to anybody that tweets at us with questions in the aftermath of our show. And from Ottawa and from Toronto, we thank you for tuning in to us. Big Brother Breakdown 902. Nova
Bye.
Scotians now relocated. Oh. Okay, bye everyone. Thanks.
Bye.